Welcome back to the Kerbal Space Program. Today we have an exciting new mission. Our last series, based on the Apollo missions, featured 2 landings on the moon, and we hope to surpass this feat with this set of rockets here, which will be attempting 4 landings on Minmus. We have a newly redesigned lander. We have a newly redesigned command module. We have a science lab. We have the most crew members ever with a dedicated scientist on board of the mobile processing lab. And it's a very exciting mission. I'm looking forward to getting it underway. We have some swaying in the rockets, which means that it is time to launch before anything bad happens. So, without further ado, we will begin our mission. As we get into orbit, we will go over some of the specifics that I have engineered into this craft to hopefully make it more successful than our already successful Apollo program. Coming up on our first stage separation. Everything looks good so far. Bill, not looking happy. Bob, looking terrified. Jebediah, ecstatic. Coming up on 12 kilometers. We'll begin our pitch over. Second set of boosters gone now. Sounded like something just snapped. No loud explosion when switching to the map screen, that's good. We're going to hold this until our apoapsis is about 150. Should have plenty of fuel in these 3 tanks to get us there. Throttle down. Yeah, over a bit more to just widen us out. It's 150 there. At our apoapsis, we will do a burn. Looks decent. 800 meters per second. Slowly tilt our rocket over. So as we can see, it is a very different lander than the one we had before. This one has been designed specifically with landing on Minmus in mind. It's a very squat lander. When we can see it a little better during our docking phase of the mission, we'll go over it. That said, I've just come up with a problem for this craft. I have 4 passengers, and I only have parachutes on a single command module, and this science lab is so fragile that it will not survive if we try to parachute down with it. So already a second mission will have to be devised to come up and rescue our scientist, but that shouldn't be too big of a problem. We have a rocket kind of waiting in the wings from when we were originally contemplating having to go rescue Jebediah, if he should ever have run out of fuel. So this will be a great opportunity to test that craft. Jettison these rockets before we get into orbit. Doesn't look like it will be an issue. So that we don't have too much extra debris cluttering up our area here. This craft, of course, a lot heavier than the one that we brought to the moon. A lot heavier. These extra fuel tanks located on the side of our command module are necessary to refuel the lander. Lowest at 75. We're not gonna waste any more fuel to get that. Let's go ahead and try to set up our best opportunity for intersecting. Oh, not the moon. I want Minmus. Should set us up on a very similar plane. If we were to then accelerate, would we intersect Minmus? That looks pretty decent. So we'll get this craft into position. This craft, to say it's heavy and unmaneuverable would be a gross understatement. Now I've basically taken a guess on all of the fuel we'll need. I'm thinking I have too much liquid fuel, which is going to weigh the craft down and make it harder for our Poodle engine to get us there and back. But at the same time, we've got this big rocket to get us there, and then on our way home we will jettison these canisters, so we will hopefully have an easier time of it. Again, the science lab here, a necessary weight we've added so that we can utilize our goo canisters on each site. We're actually going to take 2 goo samples, and I believe when you take a goo sample, you can remove it from the container, bring it to the science lab, and they can clean the goo container so you can reuse it. I don't know whether or not you have to transmit that goo back to Kerbin. I think you do. So if I have 2 of them, I'll still be able to get about 100% out of that. Of course, the lander is laden with other experiments that we'll be able to just gather. We won't have to transmit those. Our plan is to come back with Kerbin with them. So we'll be able to get plenty of seismic data, gravioli data, temperature scans, surface samples, EVA reports. So it should hopefully be a good time. When we can see the lander a little better, we'll introduce it to us. As I said, these canisters here are replicas of what is on our LEM, or our MEM, but that would be whatever. Reminiscent of what's on our lander, we have a monopropellant canister, a monopropellant cartridge, and then significantly less fuel than what's on this. I put more fuel thinking that the ratio to get this fuel, not only to fuel the lander, but to fuel our main engine. A second iteration of this rocket would probably have a smaller fuel canister and just be an exact replica of what's on this tank, so that every time I don't use the full tank for rendezvous and all of that, it would be extra fuel to be added to our main engine here for the return trip home. But I didn't think that far ahead, so here we are. 6 minutes. Again, still very nasally, I'm sorry about that. So we'll go ahead and fire up our engine. We'll do a low amount of thrust comparatively. No reason to do a full burn. This isn't super time sensitive, and the more efficient we can be with our fuel, the better. Someday I will figure out what the peak fuel efficiency operation for each engine is. I don't know it yet, but I'm sure somebody out there has done the data for the crux of the juxtaposition between fuel usage and thrust. I'm hoping this engine doesn't burn out on me. It'll be close. Every bit of fuel I have left in it to help me slow down once I get to Minmus. Closest approach is roughly 5 kilometers. That's not going to help us. That appears to be on our way back too. 3 days, 16 hours, 48 minutes. Oh, 12 hours. So that's 4 hours, and I am 500 kilometers above. But that's what we're going to go for here, so we're going to spin retrograde and just get that 1 meter per second. There we go. Really whiling out over these. We're on our way. Passing the moon. Goodbye, moon. Bob looking down on the moon, sadly, of course. Knowing he has walked its surface the second most times out of any Kerbal. Minmus looking awfully far away. Looking awfully far away because I set up my connection with the moon instead of with Minmus, and I'm assuming there's nothing I can do now. That 5.4 meters per second is my only chance now. Oh. An incredibly high orbit over Kerbin, so I'm moving very slowly. Really a terrible set of decisions to make here. $700 appears to be as close as I'm going to be able to go. 6 meters per second. On what is just a flyby right now. Just a small amount of fuel left in this tank. Looks like about the best we're going to do. And so then when we get there, that's a scary looking thing. When we get there, we're going to want to do a... we can't handle any more maneuvers at the moment, so we're just going to kind of fast forward. Interesting set of mechanics at play that would take us at a 90-degree turn from the way we're currently heading. Still a day away. We're already been in space for 2 days here. Just realized we never deployed our solar panels, but it looks like we still have plenty from firing up this engine. Okay, our only chance here will be to burn retrograde, and it is not showing me the ability to place a maneuver node, which I hate when it does that. Part of our issue here is going to be that this engine is definitely going to burn out, so we don't have time to wait for our periapsis to do that. So this will actually work to our advantage here, buying us much more time. Not that if it took me 4 hours to capture this craft, then doing some hard thinking there. This engine has been a phenomenal friend for us, with 1.58 meters of fuel left, or meters, wow, 1.58 units of fuel left. We will be sending there we are. We'll be sending our booster out into the great unknown. Let's go ahead and get our solar panels extended. Originally my plan was to have Bill make these landings. So that said, Bill, this is for a few reasons. One being that Bob got to go last time, and Bill, who was just a trainee, gathered some much needed experience. Also, by letting Bill go, Jebediah will maintain that he has walked on the most orbital bodies out of any Kerbal, Kerbinling, and that's important to us as a program. We don't want anybody challenging the top dog. Lander looks good. We're going to go ahead and decouple. It looks like our lander actually got caught inside of this ring, which is supposed to jettison things away from it on both ends. So we're going to go ahead and have to wiggle free. Not really what I want. That is going to waste a bit of monopropellant. I don't think it's going to waste enough that it's going to jeopardize the mission, but it's certainly something I didn't want to have to deal with right now. Alright, Bill. First thing we're going to do, we are freely rotating, so we are not attached to this decoupler, which is good. But it does honestly look like we are inside of it, so we're going to pull up our RCS thrusters. We're going to drop ourselves down and pull ourselves out. That didn't go quite as planned. Try to wiggle free here. Okay, we lost quite a bit of distance from our friends there, but oh, we're still falling away. Pull open our resources. 15 units of fuel. Oh, we're coming in really hot. 25 seconds till impact. We won't impact, of course, because we are off to the side, but still. Nope. Okay. So we're going to switch over to docking controls just so I can use WASD. We're going to come over. We're going to come up. And we're going to inch forward. Whoops. Missed it by a little bit where our angle is a bit off. There we go. So how much time until my periapsis? Hours and hours and hours and hours. Let's go ahead and just see how much of a maneuver we have to do here. Oh, it's not going to be bad at all. This is way better than I was anticipating, to be honest. Assuming that our Poodle engine here is as responsive as I'm hoping it is. It gives us a bit of an angle over the surface, but that's okay. 35 is good. 54 is good. That'll be the maneuver. So on our lander craft here, our science experiments are duplicated on both sides. We've got 3 gravioli readings that we can take. In fact, might as well start doing that now. We also have 2 seismic accelerators on each side, 2 thermometers on each side. My plan will be to grab duplicates of all the experiments that I have when I'm landed, just max out the science so that I don't have to come back with those particular experiments again. We have our 2 goo canisters. We've already talked about our plan to utilize the 2 goo canisters, process them in the lab. I don't know if we have to send them in order to clean out our tanks so that we can use them again. If we do, then we will, of course, transfer them back to Kerbin, and hopefully with the 2 of them we'll get close to 100% science. Even 90% I would be relatively happy with the multiplier and the number of sites we're going to land on. It should be enough to hopefully take out most of the tech tree with this mission. Is my plan anyway. Let's go ahead and get our craft in position, and we will fast forward to the burn. My attempts to rotate the craft are... Oh, I'm still in docking mode. Okay. I got very nervous there. Doopadoo. Bob's still not looking very happy. 5 hours and 30 minutes. Oh, we also do have 4 solar panels on our lander this time around instead of the usual 2 that I've been flying with. Well, I can't say usual because I've only done one other mission, but instead of 2 we have 4. Make sure this engine is off. It should be when we come back. We missed it by 10 minutes because I'm an idiot. We're going to just fire our thrusters now. It's going to cost us more, but... Oh, nope, I think we have royally screwed this up. Very upset about that. We started to fall very quickly. I've used more than double the fuel that I was supposed to now. Very angry at myself over that. Tripled the fuel. Fortunately, we did really well with that large booster, that this isn't going to cripple us, but there's really no excuse for me to have missed that by 10 minutes. I'm really upset at myself over that. Oh, I'm apparently now burning mostly prograde, so I am just wasting fuel. Ah. Some days you just hate yourself, you know? Once we drop below 45 in those outer tanks, we will be jeopardizing our mission. Or our 4 landings, anyhow. Bob, definitely best showcasing how I feel right now. Bill happy that he might get to go home early. He hasn't looked at the data yet to realize that based on our current trend we would be going to Duna. Now we're going to attempt to fast forward not through everything. What an idiot. What an idiot. Remember, anything below 45 jeopardizes our mission. It's not just a matter of having enough fuel to do the missions and get home, of course. We also want to make sure that we have enough fuel to do any maneuvers we have to pick new landing sites, or if we have to, if we take off at an odd angle. I mean, we're already at an odd angle, but if we take off at a different angle to correct ourselves to get back on course, all of that stuff is going to have to be done, most likely with this ship, so that fuel is very critical. And to just squander it like that really upsets me. Ah, 5 minutes. Nem, do you think he can handle it this time? Not fast forwarding through. That would be just fantastic if you could. Take advantage of the opportunity to log some experiments at least. Nice slow controlled burn, get back on target here. 8 units of fuel, which of course is 32 units of fuel. We have to keep that in mind when we're looking at these numbers. It is feeding from all 4 tanks. So this fuel, these 4 fuel tanks have as much fuel in it as this whole tank. So when you're seeing our numbers drop and how much we're moving in terms of meters per second, we're not as efficient as you think we might be. $45. Current periapsis is 39. We're going to eat into a little bit. Now, of course, my plan is to make 4 landings. If everything went well, there is the possibility for 5 landings because, of course, my lander is fully fueled to begin, and each contact with the mothership has the ability to fully fuel it again using these canisters, and therefore not any of our fuel that we are depending on to get home. So here we have it, 43 minutes into our video. 3 days, 19 hours, 23 minutes in, we have arrived in lunar orbit. It has not been all that smooth. We've had a couple of glitches along the way and have noticed a few problems. But that said, we'll go ahead and call the video here. And when we come in next time, we will be poised to land on the not the moon, land on Minmus's surface and run our experiments, and I'm hoping that our next video will contain at least 2 landings. We'll see how quick they go. Minmus is a lot easier to land on than the moon. I dare say it's easier to land on than Kerbin, even though Kerbin you can use parachutes. So that's all for this time. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you again soon.